This is QTV News. I am Marietu Sidibe and thanks for joining us. Our top stories. $50 million reparations to victims of human rights violations and abuses under former President Yahya Jammeh's regime. A National Assembly member has warned President Barrow to take seriously the 3 years Jatna protest. The mayor of Banjul officially launched the Gambia chapter of Refela to promote and sensitize the Gambian public on the Sustainable Development Goals. Those are our top stories, and now the news in detail. The Gambia government is to give $50 million reparations to victims of human rights violations and abuses under the former president Yahya Jammeh's authoritarian regime. The information was revealed at a press conference on Monday at the Ministry of Justice in Banjul. Aisha Jan reports.
Almost 1 year into the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission public hearings, the Gambia government is fulfilling its promise to grant reparations for victims of human rights violations and abuses under Jammeh's regime. Victims of human rights violations under the Victim Trust Fund of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission receive an initial sum of $50 million from the government of the Gambia. Justice Minister Abubakar Tambadou shares that the amount is generated from proceeds of sale of former President Jammeh's assets currently being sold in accordance with the recommendations of the Jammeh Commission.
It has become increasingly apparent to the government, based on revelations at the TRRC over the past 1 year, that former President Jammeh was a central pillar in the infrastructure of terror and human rights abuses that were unleashed on ordinary Gambians and others under his leadership. Consequently, the government deems it most fitting and just that reparations for his victims should be granted directly from his wealth and assets.
The chairman of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, Dr. Lamin J. Cisse, says nearly every Gambian was a victim of Jammeh's brutality and tyranny. He expresses appreciation to the Gambian government for compensating the victims.
I think victims need this kind of attention. They need this kind of help. And Honorable Minister, thank you so much for the 50 million contribution coming from the government. It's a first step to bringing about that healing, bringing about reconciliation. And to a certain extent also to justice. People who have been victimized are being helped, being assisted in that way.
Gambians in the country and the diaspora were acknowledged for their individual and collective acts of generosity, solidarity and selflessness towards the welfare of the victims. Gambians of all walks of life were tasked to own the TRRC process, as the responsibility to build the Gambia is everyone's duty. For QTV News, I am Aisha Jan.
The National Assembly member for Serekunda has used the debate on the President's 2019 State of the Nation address to warn President Barrow to take seriously the 3 years Jatna protest. Aliu Cisse reports.
The member for Serekunda, Madi Cisse, is one of the outspoken figures against President Barrow's plans to stay in power beyond 3 years transition in contravention of the MOU agreed by coalition stakeholders. In several media interviews, he has warned the government against any form of maltreatment of protesters who plan to take to the streets in December to call for President Barrow to step down. During the debate on the President's State of the Nation address, which did not address the 3 or 5 years mandate issue, Cisse had this warning.
The group of people who met at State House and said they have extended the 3 to 5, they don't have any mandate to do that. They lack the mandate. You cannot eat your cake and have it. The 3 years was their own programs and they sold it to the Gambians. Gambians bought it. It belongs to the Gambians now. I want the Honorable Vice President to tell the President and his government to deal with this issue very seriously. This is a looming crisis floating over our heads, it must be addressed.
The member for Busumbala, Sekuba Jayu, says young people should not allow themselves to be misled by the old to the detriment of the country.
I advise my fellow youths and advise myself. The government is available. Let's scrutinize the government. Let them put them to task. If they don't deliver, let's wait for 2021 and decide what we're going to do for it.
President Barrow came to power in 2016 with a promise and electoral campaign pledge to stay for 3-year transition.
I'm not a politician naturally, I'm a businessman. I want to head the transitional period. Parties will contest election. I will not be part of that. I will just conduct the election. If anybody who wins, we hand over power. I will live as a private citizen and continue my business.
However, approaching 3 years into his presidency, President Barrow has had apparent change of heart and stated that he wants to complete his 5-year mandate as stipulated in the Constitution. This, according to President Barrow, is to help government accomplish its reform agenda, which, according to observers, is proceeding slower than anticipated. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
The mayor of Banjul, Rahim Malik Lowe, on Saturday officially launched the Gambia chapter of Refala, funded by the UNDP. It aims to promote and sensitize the Gambian public on the Sustainable Development Goals.
As part of the efforts in localizing the Sustainable Development Goals, Her Worship the Lord Mayor of Banjul officially launched Refela, the African network of locally elected women. The network gets its acronym from the French version of its full name, Réseau des Femmes Élues Locales d'Afrique. At the event, the Lord Mayor spoke about the objectives of Refela, the Gambia's national chapter.
The objective of this chapter is to propose strategies and actions aiming at taking into account the concerns of women in all areas of local life, to promote a better participation of women in the political life and in the management bodies of local governments, to build the capacity of local elected women and develop their leadership in the management of local affairs.
The UNDP representative Aissata says UNDP will ensure that development and better living conditions in communities is achieved through working with other UN agencies and organizations. She further said her views in enhancing a better living condition for all.
Gambia is living a very historic moment, and it's a moment of opportunities for women to be at the center of the agenda, but also to be able to make sure the partnership with men, because it's not about women taking all the space that men used to occupy. It's for women to work together with men so that the livelihood, the people's condition can be better, and it's proven that when women are at the decision-making process, the results are greater for whole society.
Mohamed Krubali, a magistrate, also spoke about the event.
No nation is free if women are not free. So the Gambia also shall never be free if women are not free. We will make sure that we continue to advocate for the empowerment of women.
Other issues discussed included gender equality in local politics, leveling the privilege for women in the economy, ending sexual and gender-based violence, and zero tolerance on the prevalence of street children. Malik Nyang for QTV News.
We will go with a short commercial break, and the news continues when we return.
QCell, your most trusted network, gives you the fastest, biggest and cheapest 4G LTE network in the Gambia. Enjoy unlimited broadband with the fastest speeds. Access the fastest mobile network with our Sunyu Bundle service. Call us on 111. QCell. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back. A month-long swimming training exercise ended on Saturday at the Joint Officers Mess Pool in Kotu. 29 out of the 31 participants graduated after learning different swimming skills. Momodu Gajaga was at the ceremony and he now reports.
The program, organized by Swim for Life Gambia, aims to reduce drowning incidents in the country. Children between the ages of 6 to 16 were trained not only how to swim, but as a life skill. Statistics from the Red Dolphins Lifeguard Association of the Gambia recorded an estimated 211 drowning cases, while 126 were rescued between 2006 and 2019. However, just last month, 5 children died as a result of drowning. In most of these incidents, children account for 80%, making them the most vulnerable age group.
It is important that we bring our heads together as a country to reduce the number of drown cases that are happening in the Gambia. Now, these 31 young people that are registered with us some 4 weeks ago, 96% of all of them can swim on their own.
Although the pool is more than a meter deep, children as young as 3 were swimming on their own without support from their trainers after learning the skills, which they demonstrated in front of their parents.
It feels great now. The water today is a little bit high. That's why when you're pushing it, the pressure is a lot in your body. That's why I'm just breathing this much. But now I'm a little bit better now. These people have taught me a lot, and I appreciate that.
I feel it nice. I like swimming. Thank you, parents. I like swimming for my own future.
For their parents, the training might not only help in curbing drowning, but could be a lifesaver and fun as well for their kids.
Several kids drowned. I'm sure that obviously that was not the intention of the parents, but so I think it's vital they learn to swim. You never know when they're going to go there, but at least when they go to the water, they can protect themselves.
Sunday beach parties attracts many children across the country. They are often unaccompanied, and it could be dangerous to swim. However, with this training, perhaps the aim of greatly reducing drowning incidents could be closer to becoming a reality. Momodu Gajaga, QTV News.
The Village Development Committee of Tujereng, in collaboration with Mbolo Association, launched the Tujereng Jambando pilot project on Saturday to promote the recycling of organic waste into manure. QTV's Ansumana Isonyase attended the ceremony and he now reports.
The launch of the first ever community municipality solid waste management strategy, also known as Tujereng Jambando, has been hailed by local government authorities as a possible solution to the country's waste management problems by converting organic waste to manure and in the process empowering women gardeners in West Coast region. In his address, the Alcalde of Tujereng, Karamo Bojang, thanked Mbolo Association and their partners for using Tujereng as an experiment center for a project he says will reduce the unemployment gap in his community.
Now the whole idea is to get away from the conventional manure that is imported. Research has shown that, after a long use of that manure, it destroys the soil, and no matter how, it's just like diminishing return. No matter how much soil, how much manure you put, there is no improvement.
Speaking to journalists, the governor of West Coast region, Bakari Sanyang, expressed his delight at the launch of this project in his region, saying the region is also confronted with waste management challenges. However, he is optimistic that the project will help tackle those challenges.
Definitely welcome this initiative, and because as you know, one of the biggest challenges in my region is the control of waste. It has become a problem, and that's simply because of the density of the region. We have more people in this region than any other region. So I can understand why we have waste all over, and managing this waste is a problem.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly member for Kombo South, Honorable Keba K. Barrow, urged women gardeners and young people to take ownership of the project.
This is an opportunity for young people of Tujereng and the community of Tujereng to take part in this important adventure that is being done worldwide. Organic manure has been rated as one of the best ways to preserve and conserve our learning and farming equipment and also our environment to ensure that productivity is high.
According to officials, the segregation and collection of bio-waste to be recycled to fertilizer will become a resource instead of waste, thereby reducing the volume of waste disposal and its impact on the environment. The event at the Tujareng market was attended by the chief of Kombo South, representatives of Mbolo Association and a cross-section of society. Ansumana Nyasi for KTV News.
The final of the Kute Jambulu football tournament was over the weekend played at the Jara Soma Mini Stadium. The game between Diba Oil of Karantaba and Pakalinding FC ended goalless, and the match had to be postponed during a penalty shootout. Babakar C watched the final and he tells us why a winner could not be determined.
The Kute Jambulu football tournament, sponsored by the National Assembly member for Jara West, Kajali Fofana, brought together 11 teams to compete in the 7-month-long tournament. Thousands of football lovers in Jara and the surrounding villages came to watch the final, but to the disappointment of the fans, no goal was registered in the 90 minutes and the game headed into penalties. During the sport kick decider, all the players of both sides took part and all of them scored with the exception of one player from each team. The two teams stood their ground, refusing to crack. In the end, the referee had no choice but to call a halt to the game as it was getting too dark to see. The tournament committee will now have to reschedule the game at a later date. Ibrahima Job, Diba Oil Academy head coach, and Ibrahima Sow, head coach of Pakalindin, both had this to say.
To be honest, I don't have nothing to say about my team because they did well. What I expect from them is what they did. So I don't have nothing to say, to be honest. This is football.
What I have is now like to go back and then, you know, because we already identified our mistakes, and we are going to develop other tactics that we are going to use in order to punish our opponents for sure.
Honorable Kajali Fofana, who sponsored the tournament, said the aim of staging the competition is to bring the youths together.
In as much as they are united, I am behind them. Because that was my objective. That was my promise I made to the people of Jara when I was nominated. Whenever I am elected to the National Assembly, my first objective, my first work to do in this area is to unite the people for good. And football is one of the instruments that we can use to unite the boys.
The chairman of Jara West District Football Committee, Mr. Demba Yafa, used the opportunity to donate a set of jersey and 3 brand new footballs to the Jara West District football team, who are set to battle it out with Central River Region in the ongoing 3rd Division qualifiers for a spot in the 2nd Division. Babu Karsi, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin of the news, let's take a quick look at our main stories. $50 million reparations to victims of human rights violations and abuses under former President Yahya Jammeh's regime. A National Assembly member has warned President Barrow to take seriously the 3-year Jotna protest. The mayor of Banjul officially launched the Gambia chapter of Refela to promote and sensitize the Gambian public on the Sustainable Development Goals. That's all we have for you in this edition of the news. Join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you for watching.